In this video we'll be continuing with the C# video tutorials. So we'll be continuing with the discussion about structures. So this is just a continuation of some code examples. We've done some notes already. Or just basically these are kind of just more notes and code examples. So we'll be accessing a structure's fields. So pretty much we've instantiated a structure object. So here we can go, for example, let's take some of this stuff out. So we have our structure here, so here we could go, for example, we could go automobile, car points a new automobile. So that would instantiate us a structure object. And now we could say, for example, that we want car dot make to point to, for example, Ford Mustang. We could go with car dot year point to, for example, we could go with 2011. And here we could go with car dot mileage. We could go with points to, for example, 15,000, or let's go with 7,000. I guess I assume most of the viewers might be American, so let's go with miles instead of kilometers. So a double would have to have a .0. What's wrong with that? Okay. What do we have here? Oh, sorry, this shouldn't be a string. Okay, so then now let's say, so basically line 1, so the start of this code here at 25, I guess, creates an instance of the automobile structure in memory. The object's name is car. Then we assign the string Ford Mustang to the object's make string field. Then we assign the value 2011 to the object's year field, which is an int, and then we assign the value of 15,000 or 7,000 to the car object's mileage field, which is a double. So now, for example, we could show another example using the same the same car object. So we could display the message box. So we could basically just show this data in a message box. So then here we could go, for example, message box dot show. Then here we could pass in car dot make. So make is a string, so we wouldn't need to change anything there. And here, for example, we could go with message box dot show. We could go with car dot year, and then of course this wouldn't work. We'd get an error with that because it's saying, well, year's an int, and we can't show that as a string in the message box. So we'll have to call the toString method on it. So we'll chain it to that field. Then here we'll do the same for the other field here. So we'll go message box dot show. Go with car dot mileage dot toString. So if I run that, I'll just tell you what's going to appear. Sorry, that's just loading. Did I have another app on this already? Hopefully not. Okay, so it shows us the make, which is Ford Mustang in a message box. You can't see this because it's a pop-up window. Then I'll hit OK. Then it's going to say 2011. Then I'm hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. Then here it says mileage 7,000. So it just tells us all the fields in a message box. So we could concatenate this. We could add strings to the values and tell the user what the values are, which we've done that before. So now we can assign one structure object to another. So you can use the assignment operator, which is equal sign, to assign one structure object to another. For example, assume that car 1 and car 2 are both instances of the automobile structure. So we could say that, okay, I think we need another. So we could say that we have car and car 2. So this is a little bit tricky because some of these docs are left out. But basically, you could just say that I think you actually need at least, I believe you need at least a structure object reference to point them to each other. But what they're getting at is that you could just go like this. For example, car 2 points to car 1, or just car. It doesn't know what that is. So after this statement executes, the car objects fields contain the same values as the car 1 objects field. So I believe you just, excuse me, I believe you need an automobile at least, so let's just try that. Let's just try that here. So let's say that we have an object reference here. So let's go with here. We could go with, oh actually let me just go down here. Let's say that we have an automobile, car 2. Now we want to say car 2 points to car. Would that work? That would work. So now the fields point exactly to the same place. So let's try that here. So let's go with messagebox.show car2.make. Would that work? That won't work. Messagebox.show car2, that will work. Okay, so then let's see if it actually works. So once again, if you're not sure, you can always just try. So here we go, messagebox.show, we'll go with car2 dot, what else we have, year, dot, we'll chain it to the toString method. Then here we'll go with messagebox.show, we'll go car2 dot, mileage, dot, toString, chain it to the toString, chain it to mileage. So let's comment these out. Then we'll save it and just run it and see what's gonna print out. Okay, so we have Ford Mustang 2011 and 7,000. That's correct. So for example, so it did work. So I'm pretty sure then you could just go car2 dot year points to, you could change it to 2007. Print that out. So basically we're changing the car2's year field, which pointed to the car 1 or just the car's fields, but now we're going to point. We're going to then change something here. We're going to go with so let's take this year out. Let's go with commenting these out as well. Let's go with let's go with messagebox.show. Let's go with car2 year plus car2 dot year dot toString. Okay, then here we'll go with then let's just show that, make sure that car 1's the same unless the pointer changed. So because that can get tricky. So we'll go with messagebox.show here. Car year concatenated to with a space car dot year dot toString. Let's try that. Why did that print twice? It's the exact same thing printed twice. I think I might have actually, I don't even know how that happened. Okay, so here we'll just print this out. Let me run this and tell you guys what the answer is. Okay, so car 2 year 2007. Car year is 2011. Okay, so this isn't like C++ or C, so the pointers didn't change. Thank God, because that's really confusing. I believe in C programming or in C sharp. Let me rephrase that. So in C programming itself, not C sharp or C++. I think when you try to do that, the pointers change. Something like that. So when you do that, it's a little bit confusing. Even if you have to point them around, it's going to change the value, because that's where it originally started from. So it's kind of tricky. We did some of that stuff in the C programming tutorial if you're interested in more of a C++ kind of view. Okay, so now we'll just talk about passing structure objects to methods. So as with other types of objects, you can pass a structure object as an argument to a method. As with other types of objects, you can pass a structure object as an argument to a method. So pretty much you can have a method that takes a parameter which is a structure object. So for example, the following code shows a method named displayAuto that has been written to accept an instance of an automobile structure as an argument, or as a parameter. So pretty much here, or we could change the name here, whatever, displayAuto. So we go under the constructor, which has a lot of stuff in it. We'll go with private void, and just go with show car, or show automobile. Then here we could say that it takes an automobile. You could say that it just takes an automobile car, or whatever, I think. So then in this case we can say messagebox.show. So here we're going to pass the whole structure object to it, which is kind of confusing. So here we'll say messagebox.show, we could say auto.year, or automobile.year. Let's just go with auto. Okay, fine, let's just say that it takes an automobile. So we go with automobile.year plus a string with a space plus auto.make, or automobile.make. You might have to cast these two as toString. We can just try it this way. Automobile.year plus a space plus automobile.make plus or you could go plus has plus automobile plus mouse. So we could actually call that method, which we probably will do some examples in a lab coming up. We could call that method at some point and then pass it. We could pass it, for example, the car. So maybe I could just go here. We could try that here. Show automobile. We could pass in car. That works. Notice how we're getting some more colors coming up here. We got some of these new purple fields as colors and yellow coming up as method calls. So here we could take these out. Then we could print these to see what happens here. there's some good object-oriented programming for you guys. Makes it easy. So we have 2011 Ford Mustang has WindowsFormsApp14 automobile.miles. Okay, so that may have happened because the toString was left out. Because sometimes when that happens, when you don't use a toString, especially in Java, it shows you like memory locations. I guess in C# it shows you like the namespace. So in that case, when you don't use a toString, that can happen. So what we just did is we passed a parameter variable named automobile, and its data type is automobile. So we created a type in this case as well. So it's kind of a way to create object types. So we created an object type here basically. The docs don't really talk about that too much, but I believe that's pretty much creating an object type. We'll get into more of that when we talk about classes. But you can create an object type like that basically. But I just kind of think of it as a struct object type. So a struct object type. So when we call this method, we pass an automobile object as an argument, which we did. Okay. So structure objects can also be passed by reference. So they can be passed by value or by reference. Normally structure objects are passed by value. The parameter variable contains a copy of the argument, and any changes that are made to the parameter do not affect the original argument. If the receiving method needs to change the contents of the original argument, however, the ref or out keyword can be used. So if the receiving method needs to change the contents of the original argument. Okay, so if you need to change the value being passed, then you pass it by reference using the ref or out keywords. We've done some examples of that. I had one really good example recently. I know at the start it was kind of shaky. Not shaky, but it's just like the docs weren't explaining it that well. Because remember, ref is just native to C#. So you don't really use ref in other languages, so it's kind of confusing. In C++, you could just use pointers and C programming. So however, ref or out keyword can be used if you need to pass by reference rather than values. If you want to change the value of the argument being passed, then you use the reference, use the ref keyword. So we'll do an example of that. Pretty much, actually, we could do it now. Okay, so we'll do an example here. The following code shows a method that uses a reference parameter of the automobile type. Okay, so assume that the app's form has a text box control named make text box and year text box and mileage text box. Okay. So we'll write some notes of that here. So we could say assume. So assume that the app's form has text box controls named make text box, year text box. We could turn this into a GUI, which we probably should. A year text box. So we'll just go with the half example here. So we'll go with, and then mileage text box. Text box. Okay, so then we'll go with the actual definition. So we go with private void get data, passing in ref automobile. I'll just say automobile car. Okay, actually let's just go with automobile. Okay, so what's happening with that? So in this case, maybe we could just do that up here. So we could say that we have some fields here. could say that we have, for example, we could take these out. That cause an error? No. Okay, so we can say that we have a text box, make text box. Go with the private text box, year text box. Here we go with the private text box. What else we have? Mileage text box. So we could instantiate those if we need to. Let's just go without for now. So then here we'll go try here. And we'll say auto.make. Whoops, sorry, automobile.make. Points to, we could grab the data from the text boxes, so we could go make text box.text. That might give us an error. Yeah, it's like what was, it's like where is that pretty much. So here we could just go down here, we could go under here, go make text box dot points a new text box. Then we go with year text box points a new text box. Then here we go with mileage text box points to new text box. Text box? No, not text box. What's still wrong with that? Did I write that wrong? Year text box points to new text box. Did I spell it wrong? Something in there. Year text box. There now. Is it now highlighted? Okay, no. What's the error here? Let me just see what the error here is. I'm going to click problems. Expected catch. Oh, it's waiting for the catch. Okay, it might have actually worked initially then. So go here. We'll go here with private void. So under the try here, we'll go catch. So here we'll go catch exception exception. Then in the catch block, we'll go message box.show. And we'll pass in exception dot message. That's it. There's something wrong with that. I spelled it wrong. Message like that. Okay, so here try automobile.make points to make text box.text. So back up here, then we'll go with auto.year or automobile.year points to year text box.text. And here automobile dot mileage points to mileage text box dot text. What's wrong with that? Year text box dot text. Year mileage text box dot. Oh, do these have capitals on them? No. Mile EH text box. Mileage. Okay, what's wrong with these? Oh, cannot convert the types. Okay, so it's waiting for a toString. So here we'll go. Actually, no. So we want. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to point the. Remember, year is an int type, and year text box dot text is a string type. So we need to pass the string as an int. How do we do that? We use the parse method. So we'll go. Okay, so we'll take this out. So we go automobile.year points to int.parse. What are we going to pass? We're going to pass the string. So we'll go with year text box dot text. Like that. That should work. Then here we'll pass this as well. So we'll go double dot parse. What are we going to pass in? We're going to pass in the mileage text box dot text property, which is a string. So notice that the automobile parameter is declared with the ref keyword. So when you call this, you'd need to pass it with the ref keyword. or pass the argument with the ref keyword, the statement, and so the statement. So what's exactly happening here? So we're basically changing the structure, objects, properties, or the fields. So remember, when you change object, anything object related, you might need to use the ref keyword. So pretty much, so the statements get data from the text box, controls and assigns that data to the fields of the auto parameter, or the automobile parameter. Since automobile is a reference parameter, the values are actually assigned to the object that is passed as an argument to the method. So when we call this method, we pass the automobile object by reference. So we can do that here, for example, in the constructor. We go down here, we could go automobile. We go with let's just go with something, I don't know. Let's just go with, do we have a truck here? Let's go with truck. So automobile truck points to new automobile. Actually, just go with bike. The automobile bike points to new automobile. Then we'll say here that we want to, what do we call this? Get the data. So we'll say get data, and we want to pass in ref bike. So what's that going to do? That's going to, so when we call get data, so here we instantiated a bike automobile. So we're going to say, okay, now we want to get data, which is going to go to the get data method, passing in bike as a reference. So get data takes an automobile, which is, it takes a structure automobile. This is a struct object, remember. Then down here, what's going to happen is that it's going to pretend that we have text boxes, and then it's going to set the fields by the text boxes. So for example, the bike's make is going to point to, for example, if we had a text box, it's going to set the make to whatever was in the text box. And that happens with the rest of the fields as well. So we'll pretty much just end it here for this part of structures in C#. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. In the next video, we'll be continuing with structures on comparing structure objects and arrays of structure objects. Then storing structure objects in a list. Then we'll probably have a lab. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thanks.